Here.
Chairperson Lantis.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Manika.
Here.
Member Crowley.
Here.
Member Maines.
Here.
Member Ceres McDean.
Here.
Fantastic. At this time, I would like to ask the Planning Commission members to make a declaration of any conflict of interest or of any ex parte or outside communication that might influence their ability to hear all sides on any item on the agenda so that they might come to a fair decision. Hearing none, we'll move on. Minutes, item number 1, discuss any changes needed to the September 29th, 2022 study session minutes. Anybody have anything?
No, sir, I do not.
All right, I would accept a motion to accept or deny the minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the September 29th, 2022 meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Would you call the roll?
Vice Chairperson Manika.
Yes.
Member Maines.
Yes.
Member Ceres McDean.
Yes.
Member Elmer.
Yes.
Member Crowley.
Yes.
Chairperson Lantis.
Yes.
Member Kane.
Yes.
Commissioner comments, or is there anything that Commissioner would like to bring before us tonight that's not on the regular agenda?
I do believe that Mike may have had something. Do you want to take and discuss that now, or do you want to hold?
I'd say if you want me to address that, it'd be better after the item.
That's fine.
If that's okay.
That's fine. We can do that.
Okay.
I just knew that it wasn't on the agenda, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? I read the minutes and I want to applaud you guys for talking a lot about multifamily and densities and some of the things that we really need to be addressing. I attended a meeting about a week ago that was basically a meeting of communities, realtors in communities that might be involved in the expansion of the DeSoto plant and what that might mean for communities. And they stretched it out to 2 hours for 2 hours from DeSoto. So they think there's going to be a lot of ramifications, not only when the 4,000 people are starting to be hired there, but the 10 or 12,000 that will be there at various times as they construct the project. So obviously the closer in, the more impact, but they thought it would be felt as far as 2 hours away. So I'm glad to see you guys already talking about it. Comment. Anything else on that? We have no public hearings. Do we have any old business?
We have some, I guess it could fall into the category of old business. It was brought up at last meeting and the previous meeting that we address the matter of attendance as it's addressed in our ordinance and in the bylaws. And that's what Commissioner Elmer was referring to. I think it's better to talk about that if you don't mind. It's your choice, but after this item.
After the new business item?
After the new business item.
Absolutely. Is that okay with everyone else? All right. We'll move on then to new business. The Evanwood subdivision final plat generally located at 101 East Wilson Street. And Director Hall, would you like to?
Yes, so I'm covering this item in place of Jennifer Reinhardt, who is absent today, so I'm covering it for her. This was on the study session agenda consideration. You're being asked to take action on this at this meeting tonight. It's a final plat for Evanwood subdivision, a replat of lots 1 and 2, Block 6, Riverview Edition, generally located at 1001 East Wilson. There's a location map or vicinity map on the left. There's a zoning map in the middle there. And as you can see, it's zoned R1. And future land use map, it's envisioned to be low-density residential, but the future land use map, which is in the comprehensive plan. Actions to date, the Evanwoods preliminary plat was approved on June 30th, 2022 with the following conditions. A note be added to the preliminary plat. That's already been done regarding accessory buildings in the site distance triangle on a site. And to revise the setback lines on Lot 1 along East Granite Street and lots 9 and 16 along East Wilson Street from 10 feet to 15 feet. The ordinance requires 10, and the commission voted to require 15 feet as a setback along those property lines. Here's the final plat here. It's a 16-lot subdivision, 16 residential lots, rather. And it has one lot that, or it's called a tract. It's called out as a tract. That's for stormwater detention. And it's a public street being dedicated and constructed and dedicated, and all lots front on that public street, that News Public Street. It's the infrastructure plans. It's hard to see much there, but they're not only building the street, but they're extending water and sanitary sewer along the street. And there'll be sidewalks on one side of the street as required by the ordinance. I will point out that the ordinance, the subdivision ordinance, requires the sidewalk on one side of a local street, and this is a local street that's being constructed. So the recommendation is that the final plat be placed on the October 12th agenda for approval, and revised infrastructure plans and final plat be submitted that resolves all staff and planning commission comments. Those are in process. The infrastructure plans, the consultant has, the developer's consultant submitted infrastructure plans. Those have been reviewed, or the city engineer has commented on them. They're in progress, and there aren't any major issues with them this time. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the final plat, subject to the conditions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments by the commissioners? Anyone? I just have one question. I'm sorry that I wasn't here last week to ask the question. Is there some type of document, or who's going to maintain track day? Who will own track day to keep the weeds cut, keep the vegetation out of the? How will that be handled?
That will be the responsibility of the landowners. And that's typically done through a homeowners association. That was a comment that the city engineer made in the plans, and that is something that's going to be a requirement.
A homeowners association with
dues?
Well, it doesn't get that specific, honestly.
We asked that question at our last meeting too, and we wanted to know what that answer was.
Okay. Let me see if I can.
Because in the past, the developer retaining possession of those stormwater retention ponds, or whatever you want to call it, has not worked out so well as far as
The city
maintenance
always
and-
gets it.
Who always gets it?
The city always ends up with it somehow, and it's always on our bill.
Okay, I did ask that question, and someone told me that there hasn't been an issue, but
Is the developer available to answer the question?
that's a good question. Yeah, I think I recall seeing a comment from the city engineer regarding that, and that would, the developer would have received that comment. So maybe the developer can answer that question.
Brian Jones?
Yes, this is Ben Ellis with MHS, design engineer. I can help with that if you'd like. The developer does intend to form homes association with covenants and restrictions, and as part of as Mike mentioned, as part of the comments, we would be placing a note on the final plat indicating that the homes association would be responsible for maintenance of tract A as well.
Okay. As long as it's addressed, that gives us some type of enforcement mechanism. Any other, Billy, does that answer a question for you, Commissioner Crowley? I'm sorry.
And Mr. Chairman, I don't want to make light of that concern. I know that is a concern. It can happen that it's not taken care of. I haven't been with the city that long, so I'm not familiar with any specific cases of that. So I don't want to indicate that I'm making light of that by saying that.
We'll take a drive someday.
Yeah.
Anything else? Don't hear anything else. Do we have a motion to, let's see, are we moving it to recommending the city, or are we?
Right, it's to
Are we
recommend,
recommending approval to the city? Is that what we're doing?
So you are actually approving it.
We are actually
It's
approving
actually approving it. So what the city commission also has to approve it, and then they accept the dedication of any of public streets and public easements.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the final plat for Evan Woods subdivision.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Crowley. Would you call the roll, please?
Chairperson Wanika,
Yes?
Member Baines,
Yes.
Member Suresh Nadeem,
Yes.
Member Elmer,
Yes.
Member Crowley,
Yes.
Chairperson Lantis,
Yes?
Member Kane.
Yes.
Been approved. Item number 2, reschedule the November 24th, 2022 study session. Director Hall?
Yeah, so the study session happens to fall on Thanksgiving. I presume that the commission does not want to meet on Thanksgiving.
You presume correctly.
Yeah. And so, fairly safe assumption there.
I can honestly tell you it won't matter to me because I leave town on the 15th and don't get back until the 30th. So
Oh,
you guys
okay.
can meet on Thanksgiving if you want to.
So I don't
I
have
will
my,
expect you to call in.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up my calendar here.
It is, it's that weekend. Thanksgiving comes early this year. That's,
Yeah, so I'm just looking to see if there may be options the following week.
oh,
I do expect we'll have some substantial, I'm expecting a substantial project that will be on your agenda. It's possible it won't get submitted, but, and the reason I say that is I think you'll want to have a study session. You won't just want to skip the
Well, our
study
meeting
session.
is not until the 13th, or 14th, if I read that right. Yeah, our meeting in December is not until the 14th, so we have the last few days in November, the first few days in December that we could have it.
when
I
are
would
you
recommend
back?
December
I'm back
1st.
to the 27th. I was on the wrong month. I'm back to the 27th. I'm gone. I was already gone for 2 weeks last month. Sorry.
What are the thoughts about December 1st?
I could, and this is for the noon meeting, correct?
Yeah, the
Yes.
one that we're
Okay, so
scheduling.
I could do December 1st if you wanted to just move it 1 week.
Let me take a look at that if I could, see what that means in terms of preparing for the regular meeting.
Gives you
So the
12.
regular meeting you're saying would be on the,
13th is what I think is what I had. 14th. The regular meeting is on December the 14th.
So
yeah,
it's going to give you almost 2 full weeks.
it's on a Wednesday.
13 days.
So, and I'll ask Betsy if she has any thoughts about that. Do you have any concerns about that timing?
Yes. 2 weeks, it's just gonna depend on
Mhm.
talking about, assuming they can get everything.
Yeah, okay,
Well, this gives them an extra week to do that, so yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay.
Do we need anything other than just an agreement that December the 1st, we're moving the meeting to December the 1st?
I don't think you need a motion.
Okay. All right. Before we have announcements, you had something you wanted to discuss?
Yeah, so this was something that was brought up by the commission in a previous meeting, prior to last meeting, remember that we skipped a meeting. We didn't have a meeting because we didn't have anything on the agenda, so it was kind of a while ago regarding attendance. And I was asked to look into our ordinance and the bylaws and see what needed to be done in order to address that, if it's something you want to address. And I've looked at it, and what I can tell you is that there are two places that talk about how planning commission members are appointed, their duties, that kind of thing. One is in our municipal code, in Article 3, Chapter 5, and the other is in the bylaws. Article 3, Chapter 5 does not say anything about attendance, does not address it. It explains how commissioners are appointed by the city commission. The bylaws, there's a paragraph in here that, there are two paragraphs regarding attendance. First paragraph, it states, each member of the commission who has knowledge of the fact that he or she will not be able to attend a scheduled meeting of the commission shall notify City Hall staff at the earliest possible opportunity, and in any event no later than 5 p.m. on the date of the meeting. Staff shall notify the chairperson of the commission in the event that the projected absences will produce a lack of a quorum. So here are my thoughts about that paragraph. First of all, sometimes we have meetings at noon. We don't have meetings in the evening, so 5 p.m. on the date of the meeting, it's not workable for study session dates. My other thought is that even if we have a meeting at 7 p.m., being notified at 5 p.m. is really close to the meeting time. So that's something you might want to think about. The commission has the power to amend the bylaws. It's done by a majority of a quorum to amend the bylaws. Second paragraph, it states, any commissioner who is absent for 4 meetings in a row, including study session meetings and regular meetings, or a total of 8 such meetings during a 12-month period, shall have their membership status reviewed by the other commissioners. Community Development Department staff shall keep the commission informed concerning attendance. So that's what it states. It doesn't really say anything very specific about your options. It just says it's under review. So you could add something to this, perhaps. You could, I'm not sure what it would be, maybe recommend that the commissioner that's absent, exceeding that number of times being absent, maybe they're on a probationary period. Maybe they're asked to resign. Maybe I think you have some options to amend the bylaws. I have not discussed this with the city attorney.
And we can amend the bylaws, the planning commission.
It states in the bylaws that, I'll read it verbatim. The bylaws may be amended at any meeting of the commission by a majority of a quorum of the commission, provided that notice of said proposed amendment is given to each member in writing at least 2 weeks prior to said meeting. So certainly you couldn't amend it today, and you wouldn't want to anyway. So if this is something you want to be done, if you want to address this further, what I can do is I can talk to the city attorney. I could send you a draft of something, or we can have a discussion. We can put it on an agenda for discussion. But certainly, we need some legal counsel on what our options are. Keep in mind, the commission does not have the power, the planning commission does not have the power, in my opinion, it doesn't appear, to remove a commissioner.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
Yeah, because commissioners are appointed by the city commission. I would think that they can't be
I
removed.
think that it would be more of a recommendation to
So-
go to the commission for them to review and their determination.
If that's something
would
you're
think.
inclined, that I'd say that's probably as far as your power would go.
Right.
And I've not spoken to legal counsel about it.
Well, and I think that whenever we take and we look at the review aspect of it, it's taking and openly discussing what were the reasoning as to why they could not call in, why they could not, whatever. And we as our commission make a determination whether or not that's something that we want to be able to pursue forward with whatever recommendations that we decide that we want to move forward with. I think that we do have that power to be able to make a recommendation.
We've had these conversations in the past, and when we've had conversations with the people that had hard times making it, they made their own decisions to quit or whatever because
Resign.
because they couldn't
Fulfill
meet
it.
the obligations.
Right. And that's definitely, I would think that would definitely be an option as well, as to, because it's not a recent thing, it's things it's happened over the years, and it's like, it's recently been brought to our attention that we should address it, because there was, I mean, I'm thankful all of us are here tonight, but there's been times that it's like, well, if you can't make it, then we won't be able to have a quorum. And that's the concern, is that, you know, we have volunteered ourselves to be in a position to not only make a decision for the developer or the citizen who's applied for something, it's also for the citizens of the community, so that, you know, progress can continue. And I think that, you know, civic duty is a huge, huge commitment. And if we can't be here, we need to open the opportunity for somebody else to step in who can.
Are we gonna have much on our agenda on the 27th of October, the study session on the 27th of October?
I don't know, we might have at least one project I'm aware of.
Why don't we-
But that's
why
not
don't
a
we
lot, in my opinion.
Tentatively scheduled to have a discussion at our study session on this, and maybe council, since it'll be at noon, maybe council could come to that. I see 3 issues I think we need to address. One is notification, for a variety of reasons. We need to move the notification time back, make it longer, that the commissioner's not gonna be attending. And then we may want to put language in that talks about excused, which they've called in and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it, and here's why, versus unexcused. We get here and they just don't show up. There might be some reason to put that in there, and then stiffening the language up to say not only can we review their absence, but we can make a recommendation, because it doesn't say that right now, that we can make a recommendation to the city commission on those absences. So I see 3 things that we need to probably discuss at those meetings. So if anybody has anything additional?
I just think getting clarification.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But there's definitely,
Because it's hard for us to be able to move forward
Yeah.
if we don't have it there.
the lack of a quorum when somebody has a project going on can hugely affect that project.
Exactly.
So anyway, anything else on that? There isn't anything else. Do we have anything else we need to discuss tonight?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chair.
All right. Hearing none, our announcements are our next regularly scheduled Planning Commission study session will be Thursday, October 27th, 2022 at noon. The next regularly scheduled Planning Commission normal meeting will be Wednesday, November the 9th, 2022 at 7 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you all for coming tonight. Good.